Hey guys, today I'll be showing you how to set up your service dress uniform for the Air Force. Just follow along with me. I'm going to show you the current regulations on how to set it up. I'm setting it up so I can go to a graduation. Okay, so first things I like to do is set up all my ribbons, all the different things that go on the uniform right beside it so that it's all ready to go. I'm going to go tackle the U.S. circles first. Sorry for the shake, guys. I'm going to tackle these first. So these go in the center of this line right here. You're going to do them in the center, and then the circle needs to be touching but not overlapping on this line. So the coat is pretty thick, so you have to be pretty forceful when you put it in. This one I usually just eyeball. And if it's a little bit off, you can try again. I find it better to just stick in one pin so you can see how it looks, and then push in the other one. So it helps to push straight from the top. You don't want to break the pin itself. Push straight down, and then put these fingers around the edges of the pin to push it the rest of the way through. Alright, so for now, that one's good. These ones I just go ahead and put the, we call them frog tacks, on the back. That one's centered. We're going to go at the next one. And be sure that you match it with the center. Just like the other one, the bottom of the US should be parallel to the ground when you're wearing it. Now you guys should look up AFI 36-2903 if you want to know exactly the current regulation on it. But as of the time of this filming, this is how you're supposed to do it. If there's any changes, I can release a new video. So it's resting on the line. It's not going over it. It might look crooked, so you might have to adjust it again once you put it on. But we put them in place to start with. So after that, I recommend doing a ribbon rack. So I'm going to go ahead and take the frogs off of this one. I don't recommend doing the name tag first. If you do the name tag first, you won't have anything to compare it up against, because the name tag, the bottom of it needs to be flush with the bottom of the ribbons. So you want to do the name tag or the ribbons first. So this is supposed to be flush with the pocket and centered. So you'll see there's a little space on the side. Just make sure that space is the same on both sides. You want to make sure it's centered. So I lay it flat on a surface. Right now I'm doing this on an ironing board. So it actually needs to move a little bit to the right. Right there. Again, I just push in one. Move to the next. My fingers are on the back side of the coat, around where the pin is going to poke through. Do not poke yourself. Okay, so look at that. So that one's centered on the pocket, and then it's resting on but not over the pocket as well. So we're going to go ahead and put the tacks on the back of this one. And you shouldn't need spacers for the service coat. It's thick enough that you don't really need spacers. So guys, after we do that, we're going to do the occupational badge, and this is supposed to be 1/2 inch. At the time of filming this, it's supposed to be 1/2 inch above the ribbons, centered. So I like to use, you should use a ruler or something like it, but I eyeball it and I use my pinky finger in between, and that's about 1/2 inch. So just making sure it's centered. If your coat, like mine, is a little bit tilted, just straighten it up so you can get it centered. I believe I have it right there. A lot of people get really stressed out when they have to put their blues together, but it's not that bad. After you do it a few times, you'll get used to it. And if you ever forget how to do it, you're welcome to come back to this video. So 1/2 inch above the ribbons. And the point right here is centered on the middle of the ribbons, which is centered on the pocket. So that's exactly what we're looking for. You want to make sure these ribbons look nice. I just put together this ribbon rack after getting a new ribbon. You don't want any overlapping further or sticking out further, or the brass plate on the bottom sticking out. We're going to worry about the lint and everything else after we put this all together. Alright guys, the last thing that we have to set up is the name tape. So I recommend you button the button, and then you straighten everything out and get a good eye for where this name tape should be. So it needs to be, the bottom of it needs to be flush with the bottom of your ribbons. And if you pull both sides up at the same amount and straight, so that they're straight, you'll see easier. So I pull both sides up a little bit, button the button to keep them together, and as you can see, it's straight across from it. Now this might change when you put on the uniform. You might notice that it's tilted. Just as you're wearing it, make sure that it's straight across. If you have to change it once you put it on, it's not a big deal, but this is roughly where it should be right here. So go ahead and push in the pins a little bit, and then put your fingers on the back side. Don't poke yourself again. I think I got it first try. A lot of people put a mark on the back side of your blues so that you know where they should go. Like you get a Sharpie or something and mark the inside of the blues. Don't mark the outside, mark the inside of the blues. That way you know where the pins should go. And then we poke through the pins until you see that they're coming through the mark. So this is a completed jacket. It has the occupational badge. The U.S. insignia is touching but not overlapping the lines, and it's in the center. And then our ribbons are centered on the pocket, resting on the top of the pocket. That's all there is to the blues jacket. So for this one, guys, it's actually even easier in some way, because you have a way to line up the name tag. So we can go ahead and get that out of the way. It's going to be centered on the pocket on the left side as you're looking at the shirt, so that when you wear it, it'll be on your right side. So you find the center of the pocket, gently press down. You don't want to punch through the back. See, immediately, even if you hold it straight over and then you punch it through, you're going to notice a little bit of gap when you're wearing it. You're going to have a little bit of gap. So sometimes you got to go a little bit lower than you want to. It needs to rest on. So just move a few threads lower, so that when you lift it up, it rests right on top of the pocket. You don't want it to be hovering above it or tilted at any angles. You can press it all the way in. Make sure that it rests right on top of the pocket the whole way across. Just like that. And guys, for this one, I like to use these spacers. It's cheap. It's like 90 cents for a pack of probably 50 or 10 of these. I put on these spacers so that when you're wearing it, it doesn't fall off in front of you and then hang down. So it's just a little step you can take to make yourself look a little bit better. So spacers on, there's our name tag, perfect. We're going to do our ribbons now. So the ribbons, we're doing the same thing. We're going to center it and then bring it down right above the pocket where it'll rest, like it'll look like it's resting right on top of that seam. And if you get it wrong the first time, that's totally fine. You're going to press up from the bottom. Make sure that it's right above the seam. That looks good. Then we punch in the last hole. And the same with this one. The ribbons get heavier and heavier the more you have. So you're going to want to put spacers on the back. So each one of these little pins, I'm putting a spacer on, and then I'm putting the frog on. That looks good. You want to check these little spaces. Like I have a little space in between my ribbons right here. You want all the spaces closed up. This green one is barely over top of the red one, the NCO PME ribbon. Alright, it looks good now. They're in line with each other. Make sure they're all in the right order. You guys need to go on to VMPF and Virtual MPF and check that you have the right order. Make sure that you have all the right order, all the right stuff before you start setting this up, because the worst thing is realizing you don't have something you need. So you don't want to have gotten a new ribbon or something without knowing it and then not have it on your blues. So we're going to go again with a 1/2 inch. So one pinky above, centered on the ribbons. One pinky for me, but just make sure it's a 1/2 inch above. If you stretch the fabric taut, it gets a lot easier to work with. So that's tilted a little bit. We're going to need to bring the right side up just a little bit. So you can look at the fabric and see where your last hole was and just barely move it above that. That looks good. 1/2 inch. And again, once you wear it, you might realize you have to change some things. But the important thing is, if you forgot how to do this, forget the measurements, make sure you look at AFI 36-2903 to see the measurements. They might have changed. Things might change by the time you're seeing this video. But for right now, the basic rule of thumb is everything's centered. Everything's resting on and not overlapping. It's a 1/2 inch measurement in between your badge and your ribbons on both the blues service coat and the blues shirt. For this one, we center it on the pocket directly above the hole for the button. Should be the center of that. Check these sides. Actually, this one, I'm noticing now needs to move over a little bit to the right. And it's fine if you make mistakes. You want to see these mistakes now rather than later. So what we're going to do is we're going to see that hole we made. We're going to put it directly over just a couple millimeters. And then see how that looks. And then for the shirt, I'm going to put the last thing on it, and that is the straps on the bottom that go to your socks. Now, you don't have to have these straps, but I do recommend you have them, otherwise your shirt's going to get all bunched up around your sides. Now guys, as far as straps go, there are two types. There's the type that loop around your foot, which is the type I recommend, and then there's this type that hook into your sock and then hook into your shirt. I don't recommend these. When these come undone, they snap you really hard. So I wouldn't use those if I were you. I've used both. Take it from me. So what we're going to do is we're going to button the last button so everything's straight. Straighten everything out. And then you're going to want to put them rubber side. So there's a metal ring here, and then there's a rubber side. The rubber side I put on the inside. So if it's going to stain your shirt, it's going to stain the inside. So for the front, I'll put it right here, guys. Make sure you put it on going straight down. And then for the back, you want it to be directly across from that. Otherwise, it'll look like it's being pulled as you're wearing it. That's one. Go ahead and put on the other one. If they give you trouble, guys, it's because they're wound up too tight. You're just going to push this piece all the way in. That way this can actually go all the way up to the top. Perfect. Awesome. And now when I get my socks on and everything else, my shirt won't come and get all bunched up on the sides like they like to do. I also recommend, if it starts pulling your leg hairs or anything, wrap this metal bit in tape. And this is adjustable as well. Just pull back this clasp, and you can adjust them. I highly recommend this kind. And that is it, guys. Completely set up. Blues uniform inspection ready. You're going to want to go through and make sure all the strings are off. Check all the areas where strings might be. And then if you also want to know how to tie the tie, I have another video on that. I'll put it at the end. Please check out the tie video if you're having trouble with your tie. There's a lot of ways to tie a tie and only one real way that works well with military ties. So check out my video. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I would love to help you guys out in some more military ways. So please like and subscribe, everybody, if you like this video. Thank you for watching.